I'm just going to start with a very quick survey just to make sure everyone's paying attention. Please put up your hand if you live in the UAE. And keep your hand up if you haven't heard of Expo 2020. Okay, that's what I thought. Yes, you'd have to have pretty much been hiding under a rock if you hadn't heard the buzz around this. We do have the Executive Director of Expo 2020 joining me today for a fireside chat. But before we do that, we're just going to play you the latest promotional video featuring will.i.am, and we'll be back in a minute and a half.
1, 2. You weren't there.
You weren't there when humans conquered fire, when they wore animal skin attire or invented the bicycle tire. You weren't there when they created algebra, built the pyramids in Giza, or painted the Mona Lisa. You weren't there when they first made paper or built the amphitheater, when they calculated gravity or made flying reality. You weren't there when they composed the classics or discovered antibiotics, made the mechanical clock, or taught the world to rock. But you could be there and with your own eyes witness new acts of human genius. Be there to see the alliance of art, music, fashion, and science. See a futuristic festival filled with ideas new and radical. Performances magical in a 6-month-long spectacle. This you can't afford to miss. It's the best of humankind in the greatest show of our time.
Okay, firstly, Najeeb, thank you very much for joining us today for this discussion. The quick survey revealed that not a single person who lived in the UAE had not heard of Expo 2020.
That's good to know.
That's all, that is good news. But for those that are not from the UAE, and just to expand people's knowledge more broadly, can you give me a brief background about Expos?
We'll do that. First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. World Expo. Before we talk about it, maybe let's talk about the Expo 2020 in specific, and then I'll go back. Expo 2020 will be hosting, and during the 6 months, 25 million visits. That is approximately the size of Australia, coming through a single event over 6 months. So then you can ask yourself, why? Why should all these people actually come? And to start answering that question, maybe we can go back to the history. The Expo is the world's oldest exhibition, oldest event, started in 1851. The first one actually attracted about 6 million people in London. So with that number, it was a big gathering of humankind in one place. And that legacy actually brought us up to 2020. In the early days, the expos were always the place where people can see the latest products, services around the world. Today, the situation is a little bit different. I'll just give you a few examples. The first mobile phone, first broadcast actually happened in an expo. Ketchup was invented and showcased first time in the expo. So many products and services came. In today's world, when we think of new products, if something gets invented somewhere in the world, we literally know the same day. So the question is, why do we still gather? And the big answer is, getting together, the face-to-face interaction is still very key. And we as human beings, we always want to gather together. We always want to have that connection face-to-face, not using a technology. And we still, as we do today, we meet physically. And we get, in a World Expo, we get all the countries together, all people from different backgrounds in one place. And with 2020, we will be able to have the largest gathering of diversity in humankind to actually next year to have it here in Dubai, in the UAE, for everybody to enjoy and benefit of.
And how many countries are you expecting?
In terms of the participation, we are going to have so far a confirmation of 192 countries. And 192 is already the largest participation in any expo since 1851.
And are you seeing this, so how are all the Emirates working together on this, or what's the kind of cross-MENA or cross-GCC initiatives?
When we're thinking of the success of an expo, yes, it is hosted in Dubai. We have a specific site allocated for it, but this is a national project. And when it comes to a national project, within the UAE, every single government entity, and the federal side, and the local element, the private sector, and the society itself, Everybody is behind this project 100%. And that will add so much success into the whole Expo to make it the most exceptional Expo in history, as His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid instructed us, and we're going to position this Expo as a truly exceptional Expo in world standards.
And can you talk me through some of the themes for the Expo?
We, of course, as you heard in the promo, this is the greatest show on earth. But our theme is connecting minds, creating the future. And we have 3 sub-themes on mind: sustainability, opportunity, and mobility. 3 topics that are so important, not only regionally, but in global context. And many of the countries who are participating are bringing solutions, showcasing them to the world here in the UAE.
Sustainability has actually been quite a big theme of this conference as well. How are you actually implementing that? Are you implementing it in the construction as well as the actual?
Yes, we have to walk the talk. So when it comes to sustainability practices, the site itself, and we're talking quite a large site. It's actually 4.5 square kilometers of a site, complete infrastructure being built. All of the buildings that we have on site are actually, from a sustainability point of view, are LEED certified. And on top of that, we have a pavilion dedicated to sustainability. We're calling it Terra. The sustainability pavilion is the highest levels of LEEDs. It's going to be a LEEDs Platinum standard. And the idea of this pavilion itself, we will showcase to all of our visitors the negative impact of human nature into the environment. So the visitors will be able to walk as if they're walking underneath the ground to see the roots of the trees, and underneath the sea to actually see all the fishery and all the green areas of the oceans, and how the negative impact of human being will actually affect both the sea and the earth, and have that insight into all of our visitors, from school children or into adults. Everybody will have their takeaways into or from this pavilion in Expo 2020.
And you mentioned the school children. I know when we were talking before, you were mentioning about the importance of youth being involved in Expo 2020. Yes. How are you kind of integrating them or ensuring that the grassroots is being channeled?
Here in the UAE, the leadership has a huge focus on the youth. And when it comes to Expo 2020, we're all obviously collaborating with all the entities, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth, just to make sure that we have that great emphasis. When we talk of a World Expo, we have an opportunity for our children from KG up to later, the students in late ages or stages in the university, to benefit out of this mega event here in the UAE, to meet all the countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, to get introduced to the latest technologies that these countries will be bringing. Basically, everybody will be able to visit the entire world in one place, and they can take those learnings from the Expo 2020. So we want to have all the children in the UAE and all of these different stages to actually visit the Expo. In fact, today we already have a visitor center active on site, and we have schools visiting us on a daily basis. We decided when it comes to students, one of the most important stakeholders, we want them also to see that journey, not only be with us in the 6 months, but get that benefit literally from today.
I mean, so with 192 countries, and it's, 10 months away now?
Yes.
In what state of readiness are you feeling?
We have about 300 days to the opening of the Expo, and when we think of our readiness, from an infrastructure point of view, the main infrastructure as we speak is actually complete. If we think of the main buildings that we have and we are responsible for as the organizer, majority of it has been completed. A few of them will need another few months, but vast majority of the site is already ready. We have even conducted a few events on site. That some of the buildings that we have completed, we run some events on those buildings. And we obviously also have a very major part of the stakeholder of the Expo, which is the buildings that our own countries are building. It's about 20% of the site. They still have up to approximately July next year to complete their parts, but all the parts that related to us as the organizer, we have already finished most of them.
It's good to get that construction out of the way nice and early on.
Yes,
and so what are some of the highlights, because I'm hoping that everyone in this audience will attend it at least once. What are some of the highlights that they can expect?
If we think of the Expo itself, this Expo is geared toward every single part of the society. We already spoke about the students. You can enjoy different shows, activities as a family, enjoying the 6 months. We are thinking and talking about 60 plus events happening on every single day during the 173 days of the Expo. So there will be something for everybody. Those 60 events would range from cultural activities and shows, concerts, international A-list artists will be there. We're talking about cultural shows, business events such as these ones. We have a convention center, an exhibition center in Dubai attached to the Expo. So we'll have a lot of trade shows happening at the same time. So a lot of the people from the business community will be also there to have their respected events and activities. And plus, of course, we have the officials who will be coming from all over the world. We have 192 countries. 192 countries will have 192 official, we call them hypothetical national days. So these national days, you'll have the officials, heads of states, ministers, officials from all over the world will actually convene in the Expo 2020 to celebrate their national days, and there will be a lot of opportunities for governments to also have their meetings and gatherings in Expo 2020.
I guess 192 countries, you can almost have one a day for 6 months, can't you?
We unfortunately or fortunately have more countries than days, so we will actually have a few of the days that we will have 2 national days in the same day.
And so how are you seeing this Expo as different from previous ones? How are you trying to make it more unique and special?
We, in the UAE, we do everything differently. This Expo is a privilege for us to host in this part of the region. It's the first time that the World Expo comes to the Middle East and Africa region. And we are already different by having 192 countries. We are different that we are integrating that business angle into the Expo 2020 itself. We are different that we are integrating the youth as an integral part of the Expo to deliver something useful. Maybe I'll give another example into that. We have a fund that we allocated of $100 million for solutions into these 3 areas: sustainability, opportunity, mobility. And we opened that into the entire world to actually come with solutions, and we funded them to come with these solutions ready during the Expo 2020. And believe it or not, we got more than 10,000 applications across the world from about 140 countries. And we have awarded many of these ideas, initiatives in these 3 areas, and we will be showcasing them. So youth is such an important element that we have integrated. Plus, of course, we're talking about that opportunity in terms of giving the emphasis to every single country. 192 countries is a lot. We have big, large countries, and we have some smaller countries. Every expo has an assistant package to support the smaller countries who perhaps would not be able to afford participating. In our case, and the first time in history, we are giving every country a pavilion. So no matter how small or large you are, you will have a space of your own. So we're talking, the smallest space is about 250 plus minus square meters of a space. And there will be a lot for these countries to showcase in the expo itself. And this opens up the opportunity, not only for that specific country to actually benefit of Expo 2020, but also for the other countries to say, I will benefit of those individuals from the government, from the private sector, from the social sector to be here, and we can interact. So the uniqueness comes that we have 172 days of an expo, which is a platform for everybody to benefit, to get together. So this is the expo of connection, the expo of coming together, of the expo of building connections during the 6 months.
Seems like quite a theme of inclusivity as well. And we just have a couple of minutes left. So what would success look like for you as the executive director?
If we're thinking of a success, then maybe I'll build on that connection. And this year, as most of you are aware, we are celebrating the Year of Tolerance. When it comes to the expo, we have everybody from almost everybody in the world actually taking part. So many different backgrounds, different countries are actually going to be here. I'll probably shed light, since it is the year of tolerance, and success to me would be linking to kind of, again, bringing everybody together. We have Vatican, for example, taking part in the Expo 2020 with a pavilion. Besides the Vatican, we have, for example, the Muslim League also taking part and having a pavilion in the Expo 2020. So it is bridging the gap and bringing people together, backgrounds, religions, with different backgrounds, to actually come together here. And the UAE and Dubai was always a platform to house so many people calling the UAE home. We have about 200 nationalities already in the UAE. And the Expo is not going to be different. We're going to have almost 200 countries being there with their officials, with their entrepreneurs, with their government people in the Expo 2020. So the more they benefit as participants in the Expo, the more we benefit here in the UAE and the region.
Well, I think that's a very lovely note to finish on. And as a white Christian woman living in the UAE, it is one of the most tolerant places I've ever lived. So I hope that the Dubai Expo reflects that. So thank you very much. Please join me in thanking Najeeb Al Ali, Executive Director of Expo 2020.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe just to end, we have a little video to show you. We spoke about the Expo 2020, a little video to actually show you where we have reached with the project.
Amazing. Thank you so much.